My beautiful human, I'm Zach. That is Anna. We welcome back to the studio 3 icons. Say hello to Mumford Sons.
Hello.
Prize fighter. Are 3 of you prize fighters?
Yeah, where everyone's you're a prize fighter now as well. Everyone is prize fighter.
Can you explain to me genuinely what that means in the context of life?
We're swinging on this one, baby. That's
I was
what it
wondering
means.
how
We're going for it. We're going for it. We love it. I've never felt this way about a record at this point in the process. We listened to it. Well, we locked a bunch of people in the room to listen to it last night in Los Angeles, and I've never, because we finished it like a year ago, and I've never at this point in the process heard any of the songs back that we've recorded and felt like I wouldn't change a note of that. I'm really happy with it.
You said that you haven't felt this way since your first album.
Yeah, personally, I haven't. Yeah.
Can you explain what that feeling is? And how do you know?
It felt like the purest writing and recording experience we've had, like the most innocent since the first record, where you have no expectations. You don't, you have a couple years to write the songs and collect them, so it is different. But like there was just a purity in the process on Prize Fighter that I haven't felt like I've had since the first record, and partly because we put a record out and the pressure is off. Once you get a record out, no one expects anything of you for a while.
You're talking about Rushmere.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's when we talk.
It wasn't very long ago. I was like, how are you guys going to come up with enough to talk about, ask us about? We just saw you. But yeah, I think it was like the pressure's off because you make a record. And for us, like having been away for a while, we got over the hump of getting back in the room, writing songs, making a record. And this one just felt like for free. This one felt like for fun. And we locked ourselves away at Long Pond with Aaron Dessner and just had the best recording experience I've had. Sure.
You needed Rushmere to get this album, right?
Yeah, I think you could see it that way for sure. It feels like we needed to rev up the engines and feel warm, feel confident. A prize fighter, is confidence. And I think we needed to be confident getting into making these songs, both in their kind of fragility, but also in their, happiness as well. Like it kind of goes in both directions. It takes confidence to explore that.
You're also having, there's honest conversations here that range in topic. You're talking to your kid at one point.
Yeah, all of them really. And to myself a lot. Dylan, I think, is right when he says that every song you write is eventually about you, kind of to you. So even that song, I think you're referring to Conversation with My Son, Gangsters and Angels. I insist on everyone using the full title. And yeah, that one's definitely, it ends up like a mantra that is really to myself.
The kids and their questions, it'll keep you up all night. What really sparks that in you? Is there one conversation in particular that led to that song?
Yeah, there was quite an existential conversation with my son on the way home from a school run. And normally, normally with the kids, if they have big questions, we've historically kind of pointed them in the direction of my parents and like, go and ask your grandpa, And we were discussing heaven, and my dad's always said, heaven's like imagine your favorite day at Disneyland times 1,000,000. That was always his standard answer to me. And then for some reason, that particular day with my son, I've been thinking a lot about human connection. And I just reached over, we were driving and console in the middle. I reached over, I put my hand over his heart, and I said, Bud, I think this is where heaven starts. And then when we came to writing, that was in my head, that image was in my head, and that conversation was in my head. So,
can you explain the responsibility involved in handling big questions like that?
It's weird. I'm saying at the moment, I feel like we're in this liminal space, and sort of like we're in between the ages of our kids and our parents, right? And so it feels like we're at this stage of life where we probably need to start figuring out some answers for ourselves rather than just pointing towards the grown-ups in the room. It's weird when you look around and you're suddenly like the grown-up in the room. It's a strange responsibility, but one you kind of just, I think we're finding we're just kind of easing into it a bit, and it's lovely.
Does any of that lead to confidence?
Yeah. I think when you were talking about confidence, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's less denial. I think running away from some of those questions in your 20s and 30s, even if you're not consciously doing so, means that actually deep down there's like an erosion of confidence, and you're kind of further away from yourself. to going into some of this stuff, some of these bigger, more existential, philosophical, like, what are we doing? Questions, including what are we doing in this band, is like, you actually feel quite fresh and young and therefore sprightly by being like, like you sort of see things with a new clarity rather than like whatever the dullness of naivety is, which can kind of build up over time and then you start getting a bit complacent. There's less complacence now, more sort of like striding.
And the confusion of angst, angst can be really confusing. Whereas like a bit of clarity has helped us, I think, with confidence. And then I think it takes confidence to be vulnerable as well. I think there's more vulnerability on this record than we've had for a while.
Can we talk about how you bring that up in a room and why and how to be vulnerable with collaborators? Because obviously Aaron is pretty much across all of it, but you are cycling through different voices, different producers. Are you vulnerable with everybody?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it starts with us. It starts with the trust between the three of us. And I think we'd rebuilt that trust through the process of making Rushmere. So that by the time we, and actually going to Paris and spending time with Pharrell Williams, who's a really important part of this record in the background, weirdly. Like, he gave us a lot of pep talks about where we were as artists and what the world should hear from us next. And
can you explain that to me? Because like, truthfully, the three of you helped shape an entire genre of music and genuinely had some of the biggest hits of all time, as has he, at a time in history, culturally, that we'll never see again. And this shift in this space has been so massive. What does he say?
He says, there was one night we were writing in the studio and there was like 10 people that came in that we didn't know who were friends of his, came into the studio. And he'd said, like, is it cool for them to come hang? And we were like, yeah, of course. And we were writing and I kind of stopped. I held back because I was writing on a microphone over the speakers. And he was like, why'd you stop? And I said, oh, I just feel a bit insecure. He was like, why? He's like, oh, I want to impress them, but I also like just feel a bit shy. And he's like, you haven't got to impress anyone, man. And he said that. He said, you like shepherding in a whole genre of music. You haven't got to impress anybody. You open your mouth and they're impressed. And it was really like the kind of thing a coach would say to his team to amp them up. And I really took that seriously. I was like, do you know what? Yeah, I should be a bit more confident. And it's not arrogance, I don't think. I think it's just like accepting the reality of where we're at as a band. We've been incredibly blessed. We've been incredibly lucky. And embracing that and not denying it, I think is that prize fighter mentality of like, yeah, I'm going to try fucking hard actually, because we've been given a gift and now we've got to go and try. And it's quite American as well. It's very anti-English to take that. Boxers do it for sure, but like to have that kind of like, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to swing hard on this one and not be ashamed of that and not pretend like we're not really trying. And we're really trying. We're trying really hard.
But by the way, like not really trying is just a mask for, by the way, insecurity, right?
Yeah.
Like, and let's just say it. Even those who shepherd in an entire genre of music are insecure.
Absolutely.
In an ever-changing music landscape.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, true. And yeah, I think we're just coming to terms with that a little bit.
How does collaboration help, I don't know, bring out confidence and or lead the way as you're being the most honest versions of yourself in a few albums?
I think if you consider collaboration as like an invitational concept, right? So you're inviting someone's opinion, you're inviting someone to finish your sentence, then you are kind of opening up space in which something can be more expanded, because that person that you're working with can make your idea stronger, better, can enhance it. Collaboration isn't a way to get more out. It's actually a way to kind of filter the ideas, because the best of the ideas make it through the kind of the mutual filter. Does that make sense?
100%.
And Aaron was kind of, we talk about how he basically joined the band for a couple of weeks. He was like in there with us. There wasn't like a layer or an arm's length relationship. It really felt, because he's so good at being in band dynamics. He spent so much of his career as a band member. it really felt like we were like in a 4-piece making this record, and that was fun.
How does Aaron work differently than you guys?
He's very quick,
He is.
and he insists on not overthinking things, which for us is very helpful and quite necessary. And so I think with this record particularly, we would record parts and vocals as close to writing them as possible. So it was a really creative process, because as soon as we'd written something, we'd record it, and then we'd move on and start writing the next thing and record that. And it was just a constant flow of creativity, and then not second guessing yourself, and having the confidence not to second guess yourself, and also having the lack of insecurity to invite other people in. Because I think for a while, we've always been a very collaborative band. I mean, our first shows had 15 people on stage, more people on stage than in the audience mostly. and eventually, we got to down to what the band was. And I think for a few years, and particularly as a young band, you want to set out your stall and show people who you are and what you can do. And, we kind of closed ranks to establish the band. We continued that. And then I think it's now, knowing who we are and what we do, we feel secure enough to open the door to collaborators, and I feel like it adds and doesn't detract from the band. And representing that on record for the first time with Prizefighter, I think, comes from a place of confidence rather than insecurity.
And by the way, you do talk about collaboration being a big part of what you've done. Like, you guys did the whole Railway series. Like, you literally played on trains, and that's all collaboration based.
Yeah.
And you've done it twice, right? You did it earlier in your career. You did it fairly recently.
Yeah.
But you did it before this album came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it. When was it? This summer.
August, I think it
August.
was 25. Yeah.
Maggie
The-
Roger.
Yeah, it was so awesome. We finished the last one in New Orleans, so we thought it would make sense to pick it up, and we started in New Orleans and went up, finished in Vermont. And yeah, it was slightly different this time. It was a lot more collaborative. I think on the first time we did it, it was kind of, it was us, Old Crow and Edward Sharp, and we kind of existed as our respective bands and did a great show and had a great time. But on this run, Marcus really had this idea to open the show with essentially like a Greenwich Village, one mic, kind of people just hopping up. Maggie would sing with Lee Fullbeck. Nathaniel would sing with, it's just like a total mixture every night. People playing each other's songs, people playing old songs, and then we had a different sort of guest come each night as well. So Lainey Wilson came up the first night. We were her band, so we did that each night. And then we did our own set, and then there was like a super jam at the end. So the whole set really was just a huge collaboration, a huge melting pot. And it's definitely the most sort of realized, I think, we've ever managed to sort of get that collaborative spirit of a band conveyed. It's sort of the best version of that we've done so far. And
My dream is for us to become a house band for other artists.
How cool.
Which is what we did on the train.
Yeah,
Lainey
yeah.
Wilson, Darius Rucker, Maggie Rogers, Noah Khan.
Yeah.
And then I want to be a house band for any, artist that wants us to come be their backing band. That's my dream.
How do
It'd
you
be
become,
the
started.
best phone call to get. It'd be
Like,
such-
yeah.
how does that make you a better musician?
Well, it was interesting just sitting down to learn like Lainey Wilson's songs, learn her changes, learn her lyrics, dive into the song, because you experience the song very differently when you sit down to learn it. And man, it was mind expanding. Being like, wow, look, she made that choice there and that change there, and whoa, her vocal there does this thing. And just listening to it and being kind of a passive listener is beautiful, and you just get to experience. But you learn it in a different way when you sit down to actually figure the song out. And that definitely makes you a better musician.
Are you making Prizefighter parallel to this, right? While you're doing, like, putting
No,
this
we-
together?
we'd finished it.
I think, maybe
We've done.
final touches on the mix, but we had done all the recording earlier.
So
in
when
the
did this
year.
officially begin? Like, and did Rushmere, and it did overlap a
It
little
did
bit.
overlap. We were mixing Rushmere in New York and doing final touches on it, and Aaron was in another room working on another thing, and he popped in, which was a lovely surprise. We've known Aaron for years. And he was like, let me sit in the sofa and listen to what you guys are up to. So we played him a couple of the Rushmere tracks. And then he was like, I'd love to play you guys a couple of things. And he had something he had been working on with John Bellion and something he'd been working on with Justin Vernon. And he was like, if it's cool, I'll just run them down. And we heard them, and we looked at each other, and we were like, fuck, we're going to have to we've got to keep going here. And with that day, basically decided to go and make an album with Aaron. Within like minutes.
What was the John Bellion record?
It's the banjo song.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so good.
Mm.
I'm obsessed with it. I've listened to it so many times.
I love that guy. He's amazing. I'd sent him what we had. In fact, Gracie Abrams had heard the track and texted me and was like, "Are you going to do something with that song with the banjo on it?" And I texted her the first draft of the lyrics. I was like, "Yeah, I was thinking this." And she, throughout did that with most songs on this record. She was like the fairy godmother in the background with her magic wand, being like, "Yes, do that. Yes, do that." And cheerleading and being like, "You got to finish this. You got to finish this thought and this idea." And she was very supportive of the process from the beginning. But John Bellion, man, I sent him the first rough demo of us singing on the banjo song. And he just texted me back a rocket ship emoji. He loved it. It was just so sweet because he's just incredible.
Wait, so by the way, he is incredible.
Oh, he's
There is
so talented.
nobody like John Bellion
Yeah, agreed.
on earth. His mind, his heart, he's just a good person who happens to be one of the most prolific songwriters and producers to ever walk on this fucking earth. It's crazy.
Yeah, so to have him and Justin Vernon on there.
Nuts.
Phineas and Brandy Carlisle. All these guys helped us with this record.
Yeah, I want to get to Brandy because she's the one who wakes up in the middle of the night and sends you a lyric for Rubber Band Man. But banjo song, what do you hear? Like that John Bellion demo, what is it exactly? Whose voice is on it?
There's no lyric on it.
Nothing.
There's a couple of he did and it's still in the recording actually. And it's like a couple of ad lib melodies here and there.
But the intent, there was an intent to it, which we've responded to, and we were like, a bit like what we were talking about before. Like the idea of collaboration is like an unfinished idea allowed us to be able to breathe in something that it was basically that, and also the song Prize Fighter were the two songs that we heard. The kernels of that day, and they were both songs that we always had wanted to write. But for whatever reason, we hadn't in the 60 or 70 songs that we've ever put out ourselves managed to come up with the kernel. But we did manage to finish and write and record these two songs in a way that feel like the most quintessential Mumford Sons songs. So that's you got to, there's an element of humility to all this that has to be like, does it matter where the first kernel begins? And if you're lucky enough that it comes from Justin Vernon, then it's just like a beautiful thing. But it could be a comment that you overhear on the subway one day.
That kernel was meant to come to you, right? Like that kernel would never turn into what it is today if it wasn't for the both of you.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I'm saying?
That's right.
That's true.
John and Justin could never have made that song what it is now. Any of those songs.
Be different.
It's magic.
It is really magic.
It's magic.
Who came up with the name The Banjo Song?
Bellion.
Okay, and what was your first reaction?
I was calling it Man on the Moon, I think. And he was like, "Yo, bro." He's like, "I've got a wild idea. I think you should just call it The Banjo Song." I can see it. He visualized it.
And you get a text from Brandy Carlisle, and she sends you what lyric for the Rubber Band Man?
The verse lyric. Yeah. And I was in Paris with Aaron, actually, and we took a day just to kind of mess around. And this text came through with these words, and I was like, "Oh, let's try that," over the thing we were kind of playing around with, and it was Rubber Band Man.
And it worked.
And it worked. It just flowed out.
Fuck off. Like the thing you just happened to be playing at the time
Yeah.
is what happened to work with the text that you got from her.
Yeah, it's magic. It's magic.
That is like the universe, right?
Yeah, and Noel Gallagher talks about songs. We all know that songs are magic and they fall from the sky. You just have to have your hands out ready to catch them.
100%.
Otherwise, fucking Bono or fucking Chris Martin's going to catch them. And so we were just in a sort of position of like receiving.
But do you feel like you hadn't been in this position maybe since your first album or two?
I think, it was like one hand behind the back sometimes. But this one, we were just we'd fully given ourselves over to what, and we'd said to each other, like, I said to the lads at one point, I was like, "I think this song's in Paris. I think we've got to go catch them." And so we did, and off we went. And Paris provided a bunch of songs, and it was the same in Biarritz. It was the same in the UK, in various studios in the UK. It was the same in New York, Los Angeles here, and then upstate New York is where we caught most of them.
Speaking of magic, what makes Hosier such like a magical person?
I think it's his height.
Yeah, very tall, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
What did he bring to Rubber Band Man?
I'm so heightist, actually. I probably need to just chill.
You want a few inches? Like you want to be taller? What's your deal? You can.
Yeah, like sharing's caring, man.
I was gonna say you can't really manifest that. Right? You're fully cooked in that department.
I think Andrew's a very deep and well-rounded soul. I think he has been for a long time, and I think he's very confident and comfortable in who he is. It's amazing when you're in a room. I'm sure you guys have met him, but he's talk about like not being. He's so comfortable in his own skin, and his voice is like it reflects that depth and the breadth of his soul. He's a big personality in that way. So we've known him for a long time. I think like almost 15 years, and we've played shows together. And I think I can say this because it's really weird, even imagining Marcus saying this, but like there's very few male vocalists that I think that Mumford & Sons could consider having on a record next to Marcus's voice, because of that, we're so lucky to have one of the best singers in the world fronting the band. And I think that Hosier, Chris Stapleton, these are some like pretty all-time voices, and it really works because you don't want it to kind of seem, small or you don't want it to be like disappointing when you get into a verse. It needs to kind of match the intensity and the emotion and the energy. And when these songs were finishing off and we were doing this with Hosier and Stapleton, we were like, great, pound for pounds, like that feels like good sparring, good vocal sparring going on there.
Let's talk about that Chris Stapleton record. It's incredible. Here's My Pride, Here's My Shame, Here's the Calls I Should Have Made. I mean, you lay it all out there.
Yeah, that's a vulnerable one, that one. Yeah, everything's in there.
Why?
Because I think I've been learning that getting more specific in lyrical songwriting helps actually evoke more emotion. There's a time when I felt like, well, to get to the universal feeling, you've got to have universal comments. But actually the specificity is what can really help people lock into the emotional place that the writer is in and then relate to it as a result. So I was just trying to plug into some creative force and be as honest as I could be lyrically there.
And specific.
Yeah.
Really, like I'm pretty sure Taylor Swift was on our show and like talked about that exact thing, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody has
She's
their
very good
own
at it.
version of that to her, right?
Yeah.
It aligns immediately.
Yeah.
There's a power to it.
Yeah, I agree. Like the song Cowboy Like Me, it's my favorite Taylor Swift song, begins with the line, and the tennis court was covered up with some tent-like thing. And who knows? Who's ever, like on paper, you'd think like that's not necessarily relatable. It takes you right into a place.
And you see it.
And it's very visual, very specific. And from that first line in that song, I am in.
It's incredible.
Any song that starts with "and," I'm in.
I think Clover on your album starts with "and."
It does. You're right.
Mhm.
Damn,
It does.
that's good.
Yeah. I
And
remember
when it's
hearing-
over.
Yeah, because I remember it's the last song and the first line is "and it's over." And, I was
And
like,
when
oh,
it's
okay.
over and the chemicals are all intact. Yeah. It's not quite as good as Cowboy Like Me.
Like a tumbleweed.
Oh, man. We'll keep trying.
Why did that song have to come last?
It just was the Clover. Here was always the first song, and Clover was always the last song. It's just how it was meant to be, I think.
They have.
Well, we did discuss it. We
purpose.
talked about like how you want to end a record. Like a lot of the time, you want to end a record with a kind of upbeat song, leave people like, you know, Beyonce's thing of like always leave people with hope.
Mm.
But actually, we thought with this song, it is a hopeful song. It's a beautiful song, and it kind of finishes this part of the story really well, I think, and really intimately, and didn't feel like we had to smash people over their heads after 13 songs already. You know, it's long. It's a lot of songs for us. It's a lot of songs. 14 is the most we've done aside from Delta, I think.
At the end of the day, when I'm broken or beat, here I have everything I need with these honey eyes on me. Who is looking at you? Your wife? Kids?
Yeah, family, yeah. What have we always said is the most important thing? Breakfast? No, family. A little Arrested Development for you in the morning. Yeah.
Was there a point where you guys flew too close to the sun?
Yeah, loads.
Is that kind of that realization, that awareness, maybe that humility that comes from that realization? Does that fuel any of the confidence that leads to this album?
Yeah, I think so. I think being able to own your mistakes feels like can lead to a new level of confidence.
Is it hard to realize that you made those mistakes?
No, they're very obvious.
Do you? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. What takes so long, though? For the
Denial, I think. Yeah,
Totally.
probably.
Well, that's it, right?
Yeah.
You can know that you've made them, but you can still deny that they exist.
Yeah.
Mm.
Totally.
Pretty real.
That's it.
Why was Gigi Perez the right person to be on Icarus?
Oh, God. Have you heard it? She's
It's
fucking
fu-
unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a dumb fucking question
dumb
because I just
question, bro.
heard the two of you together in my
Oh,
head.
She slays on that song.
It's sick.
She slays. She has some swagger. We were just with her in Mexico. She swags. Man.
Real.
She's
Yeah.
so dope.
It's effortless.
It's so cool. I think she might be one of the coolest people I
She
know.
is so cool.
Un-
Where she
Underrated
walks
cool.
through the world is just so cool.
She's a really good egg.
She is.
Her mom,
Her mom's great. Yeah.
really
Her
special
whole-
lady.
Everyone she brings into a room is like their vibe.
Her story is really special.
Mm.
It is, yeah.
So, do you work hand in hand with her on this record? Do you give her Can you explain to me the process on that
So
one?
for Gigi, we asked if she would come and play a show with us in Saratoga at the amphitheater there. We were kind of making the record at this time, so I guess we were mixing. It was early summer last year, and she came and we were just hanging out in the dressing room, and we'd been playing Icarus on tour. And we were like, Gigi, do you want to just jump up and sing on it? So she sang that night, having never heard the song. And then it went so well that we said the next day, we texted her and we're like, do you want to actually put that down and let's make that the official version of the song? It was that good. That's honestly what happened.
Isn't that crazy talent? That's
Crazy,
fucking
yeah.
effortless. She's meant to do exactly what she does on this earth.
Yeah, she really is. Yeah.
That's
Very
pretty,
special person.
That's pretty cool. When has that happened ever?
That was the only time that's happened. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Gotta listen to the album. Prize Fighter is waiting for you.
Yeah.
There's a link below. It's all on Amazon Music. There's a tenderness to Badlands with Gracie Abrams.
I guess like a duet instead of just a feature.
Which is not what we were expecting.
Oh, really?
Because I had, she'd heard everything. She had an open invitation to do whatever she wanted on the record, honestly, because she had played such a big part in it getting made in the first place. Like, you can sing on anything you want to, and you can sing on nothing if you don't want to. But, like, whether you like it or not, you're a huge part of this record. And she went away and sent us back. She said she wanted to sing on Badlands. Of course, she picked the only one in 5/4. And I was expecting like a BV, and she turned the whole thing into a duet, and it totally blew us away when we heard it. And some of the ad libs she does, like, she is just on fire,
Mm-hmm.
and her like pop sensibilities in that song, that's such kind of a weird indie song that we wrote with Justin Vernon and Aaron Dessner, that like she turned it into something completely different, which is what a privilege to be able to get that,
Running away from a tame life, running away like a wild child, give me a vision, give me a dime. Who wrote those lyrics?
I did, yeah.
Not knowing that she was going to be I mean, can you explain like what she's writing in this song compared to, or did everything come from you and she just brought it to life?
Yeah, she brought it to life. Yeah, yeah. I wrote those lyrics. I think, other than Rubber Band Man, I think I did all the lyrics. Right?
Phineas maybe on a. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I did them all. So we had help with writing, instrumental things and stuff. But these lads sat me down at the beginning of the process. They're like, "You've been in charge of the lyrics, man," which is talk about confidence building. To hear that from your collaborators of almost 20 years was really, that was the spirit of that was the beginning of the spirit of the record. To have that vote of confidence from these guys who know me and all my flaws and my weaknesses as a writer so well. I took that as a responsibility very, very seriously. And I was like, right, well, then I've got to go and study and do the work and look at the songwriting that I love, read the poems that I love, embrace the fact that I'm an artist and stop denying it. So I would go to the coffee shop like a real cunt every day with my little book of poetry and my notebook. And I was training effectively. I was like trying to get in shape to write the lyrics for this record that I knew was going to be a really important one for us. So song like Badlands, I think I'd watched Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and wanted to write like a kind of escapist getaway car song, like a Bonnie and Clyde kind of song. So I'm not surprised that Gracie picked that one from what she had presented to her on the page lyrically, because it is like a cut and run kind of song.
You got to listen to it. Prize Fighter, it's waiting for you. There's a link below. It's on Amazon Music. How'd the making of this album make you a better person, an artist? How'd you grow?
It's a great question. I think, we alluded earlier to the fact, we've talked about Pharrell's involvement. We've talked about how we had to make Rushmere to make this record. And I think now more than ever, we are very aware and accepting and embracing of the fact that this journey is, everything has to come in the right order, and that we're moving in a direction together more than we ever have done. And I think being in a band, there's a power that, is greater than the sum of its parts, hopefully, if everything's running correctly. And there's been a huge relief of pressure, especially with Prize Fighter, in that we felt a freedom. I think historically we've put so much into the records. They've taken historically quite a long time to make. Delta took like a whole year. And this was so quick. I think there's been a relieving of pressure in that we're so committed to each other at this point. We know we're going to make more records, so we don't have to absolutely sort of tear ourselves apart over a very long period of time to make a record. Instead, we can actually just really trust our instincts now, trust each other's guidance creatively. And yeah, we're kind of evolving to a stronger place. I think it's, bands, I think very often, owing to their complexity and the intensity of the environment on the road or in the studio, can become quite inhospitable environments to grow as a human being. But actually, when you're doing it right, it feels like you can actually make it a great place to grow
And evolve.
and evolve. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're different today than you were when you first started this album?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I'm much more excited about music and about my job, and I'm really excited to go and play these songs live. We've been playing some of them, but like for people to hear it and know it and make it their own, and then come see the shows, I'm very excited. London, July 4th actually, which you probably won't be able to come to, but in Hyde Park, that's the one that's in my head that we're aiming for at the moment, because we haven't done it in 10 years. It's our hometown. It's a big show in the middle of the city, and it feels like a prize fighter show, that one. And yeah, so I've fallen back in love very deeply with these lads, with this band, with this project, and playing live again. And prize fighters really helped me do that, I think.
Purity of purpose.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, purpose is really important, to be able to galvanize ourselves around a sense of purpose. And we got it.
You guys are really great. I mean, I do want to know, like, when the last time you genuinely felt that was, but
Yeah, it was between albums 1 and 2, I think.
It's been a while.
Well, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, you said that Little Lion Man came together real fast. Do you feel like a similarity between this album and that song and that time?
Yeah, I do. I think there's, like I said at the beginning, I think there's like a purity of purpose and a clarity that I really love the records we've made in between then and now. But this feels like a really important moment to us because I think we've rediscovered something very quintessential and important to us. So yeah, there are similarities for sure.
And I think something that's needed for the moment and beyond. So
Was it hard being here 6 months ago talking about Rushmere, knowing you had this whole album sitting there? Now that I'm thinking about everything
It was
you're
a
saying.
bit. It was a bit hard at times. Yeah, because it was like, look, we want to show you everything, but we can't yet. We did pass through a couple places, and we were like, we'll just play this other demo that I'm quite stoked about as well. You know.
But Rushmere was and will always be a really important chapter
Yeah.
in this band's evolution. And got to say that song, the title song from that album, has felt really good live. And seeing, we had this idea in our heads when finishing it that like it would have this sense of like euphoria, and it took a while for that to bed in. And now at the shows, it feels like it's like a highlight of the show, which is great, you know.
Yeah.
And if you think about these albums and how they serve that live experience, you know, between that and Where It Belongs and Truth and a couple of other things from that came out, not to mention a friendship with Dave Cobb that we'll always cherish. It's all good.
Prize Fighter and the entire Mumford and Sons catalog is waiting for you. It's on Amazon Music, link below. I'm really excited because you guys are going to perform right now.
Cool.
I forgot about that. Yeah, we are. Yeah.
You're going to do that song you did with John Bell.
Yeah.
Banjo song.